Hello. Makadini Tarirone Gitare here. We are live on ZiFM Stereo, my station, your station. This is Business Unusual, and we've taken over Business Unusual, where we're talking about creative economy conversations. And in this series, we're going to delve into the dynamic interplay of creativity, of culture, of community, of commerce. And our goal is to shine a light on the thriving creative sectors worldwide and sharing these compelling stories. And we just listened to a song by Hope Masike, Hanzi Idenga. Hope is one of the shining stars in Zimbabwe, taking Zimbabwean art and culture to the world. And I particularly celebrate her today because she's got a show tonight and I can't go. Because it's Tripa night shift per ZiFM Stereo. But we don't mind. We love what we're doing here. And she did an inspiring piece called Varora. She was dressed in that piece by Sabina Mutswati. Today we're going to talk about fashion. So it's all things fashions, and musicians do a great job of just taking the fashion story to the world. And there's so many good things, so many amazing things that are happening around with the Zimbabwean designers and Zimbabwean artists. I like particularly a piece called Kolisi Cuff. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's been by Patrick Mavros, and that's based on Sia Kolisi. They did a nice piece, and I think it was launched recently. So that's quite exciting to see Zimbabwean artists around the world doing amazing things. And there's also Gina Maxim, who was showcased by Pharrell Williams recently. And that's exciting stuff that Zimbabwean creatives are doing. And I'm sitting across one such amazing Zimbabwean creative who is also taking the Zimbabwean story to the world through her work with House of Stone. Before we get too far, remember our WhatsApp line is 0772 168 045. Today we have the pleasure of welcoming Danayi Madondo, who is a talented Zimbabwean fashion designer, a textile artist, and multidisciplinary visual storyteller based in Harare. Danayi's work is under the brand House of Stone, and she embodies an immersive storytelling approach focusing on sustainable cultural designs and traditions. With a deep commitment to sustainable practices, she emphasizes regenerative materials and waste reduction in her creations. Ladies and gentlemen, help me explore Danayi's unique work, her vision and her impact right here on Business Unusual.
I think I should take you everywhere with me.
I think so too. I can be your hype person. I think I'd do a great job.
Put you on the payroll.
And you dress me nicely also, so that I look like, a superstar.
I know, you look so good in my outfit that other time.
I do. And everyone thought I was moneyed.
The way I was full of money.
Ipapo, that's where the real issue is you guys make us look like $1 million, and you guys really do the work in capturing our personal stories and making us look the part. So a big thank you to you. And welcome to Business Unusual.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share my story and have more people know about what I do.
Interesting. So you were telling me a story. I wish we started this interview 30 minutes ago.
I know. That one, the tea was piping hot. It's so organic.
I think next time we should just make sure that we've got mics on everyone.
Everywhere we go.
But tell us about the journey of where House of Stone started, or where Danayi the designer really just came up from.
I feel like I need to now go into my family archives.
I think you should.
Because at this point, I think fashion is in my DNA. My gogo was a maker. She would make our jerseys for school.
Okay.
She would make all of us, all her grandchildren had something made by our gogo. And funny enough, if I think about what a designer is today, she would be the blueprint for what a designer is. It's just that I think they didn't have the privilege as we have today to call ourselves designers, but they are actually the source. They are the foundation. Even my aunt, she was a seamstress, full-on maker. My sister, extremely stylish. I've just always been surrounded by such sensational women in fashion with amazing talents and skills. So I think it's in my DNA.
I love it.
And I think I only discovered that maybe... You know what? I won't even say discovered it. I felt like it called me, hey? When they say, like, when something is just in you, you try pursue other career paths, but the one that is truly for you keeps looking for you. I often say that my relationship, even with my brand House of Stone, is like one of those toxic love affairs where you want to break up and then it brings you flowers. You're like, okay, fine, let's do this again. But yeah, it's in my DNA. I got it from my family. And I think in later years, I started to bump into a lot of local self-taught designers. One designer I keep mentioning all the time, I don't think she designs anymore. Her name is Ska Sebata.
Oh, yes.
You know Ska?
Yes, I know Ska. Where is she?
She's around, taking life, doing business, creative economy things as well. She's still in the creative space.
Ska is actually one of the first designers I possibly encountered when I started my career as well.
She was one of the first as well, and she is my age peer. But I even looked up to her as wow, because she was self-taught. For me, the work that she created wasn't just fashion, it was art. It was expression of who we are as a people. We don't just wear clothes. We don't just wear clothes. We're wearing an essence.
Exactly.
And that's what people are getting to engage with is our inner essence, but it's represented on the outside.
So good.
So she really inspired me, just seeing her and the kind of creations she was coming up with. There was even Moita Marimo. Yes, at the time, right? Similar thing, same age group. I think she was also self-taught and she got a scholarship to go study in the US. I hope my information is correct if I remember correctly, but she also inspired me a lot.
Nice.
Trish Carmen, Joyce, guys.
Oh, yes.
Like
that generation of designers was
just amazing, and they were just doing it at a time where it wasn't something to do. It's like it's either you're an accountant, a doctor. You know how it is, like growing up in African families, the road is very narrow.
Not anymore. We rebuke that.
We rebuke it. But it's like at that time they were just leaning into their gifting and doing it. And I was very inspired. And that's ultimately one of the things that led me to actually pursue fashion design as a career.
So good.
I was blessed enough to be able to study it and go to South Africa and learn the technicalities of it. And I think that's maybe the little thing that might give me the edge. But I ultimately feel like if you've got a gifting and a talent, it's there whether you receive formal education. You just have to have a spirit that wants to learn.
So good.
And learning doesn't have to be in a formal institution, because I've seen designers that are self-taught that are way better than me. So when you got it, you got it.
So tell me about the time you finished studying. You're in South Africa. You're saying, okay, I'm about to branch out into this amazing career as a designer. How did that look for you? And tell us how the brand then turned to House of Stone.
Oh, wow. So, because I studied it, in your imagination, it's like you go to school, you study, you get your degree. As soon as you get your degree, you apply for a job and you get your dream job instantly. That's what it looks like in your mind.
Yeah.
That's not what happened for me.
As it doesn't for everybody else.
I ended up getting into retail. That was my entryway into fashion. Nice. So I actually was hired by a luxury fashion brand to work as their visual merchandiser when I was still in South Africa. So I did that for a year, but I got disgruntled because I said, I studied to be a designer. I want to be a designer. Put me in the design studio. But so my assertion at the time was, maybe it's because I haven't shown them what I can do. So let me go back home. Let me create a portfolio, come back to South Africa and get a job in a studio designing for some high-end brand or something. Yeah. So the ambition was never really to create my own brand. It was to build a portfolio, but then in trying to build a portfolio, I developed a brand called Haus of Stone. And from the get-go, I always knew that I wanted to have a brand that represented Zimbabwe. So calling it Haus of Stone is not by accident. The spelling of it is Haus intentionally, because I always wanted to be international. So for me at the time, very young, I was like, let me spell it different, something, kasos, only to later find out that Haus of Stone spelled that way in Afrikaans and German is house. Yeah. So I was like, oh, perfect, perfect accident. Well. So I came back, I started my portfolio business, which in fact turned into a real business. Like, I think maybe a month in, I had proper customers coming, ordering clothes and actually wanting clothes from me, but I wasn't prepared to run a fashion business because for me, the intention the entire time was to create a portfolio. So in essence, I hadn't created the proper structures around the business of fashion. I was a bit too good at marketing.
I was about to get there. You sold us dreams.
I sold you guys dreams. I sold you readiness. Like my promo material was on point. My social media marketing at the time was on point. And I think I entered that social media space quite early. So it had a lot of impact.
Yes.
Like even today when I look back at it, I think I probably at the time had 300 followers, but the impact of those 300 followers and the engagement and the turnover from those 300 at that time was strong.
Wow.
Because those 300 people were turning over actual money for me at that time. And I think we live in an age where people think that the more followers you have, the more money you have. No, it's about the quality.
Yes, and how do you translate
Yes, and how you translate.
Them?
So luckily for me at that time, I was converting those 300 into actual money. But because I hadn't actually put in the proper business structures, I ended up burning out. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm running around in circles. Sometimes I also felt like a tailor. You know, sometimes people would come in saying, oh, we love you, the designs that we saw online, but we want this one from Vogue.
Oh, God.
So it's almost like they see your talent, but at the same time, we have such a tailor culture in Zimbabwe. I don't think at the time they understood what the role of a designer was. And actually, the role of a designer is actually to extract your essence through clothing.
Come on.
And to create something unique for you that you stand out, and it's a proper representation of who you are as an individual. It is literally like a fingerprint. We want to bring that out in you. So I think it's quickly demotivated me. I was making money. But the thing that demotivated me was because I hadn't yet extracted what my intention and contribution was ultimately going to be through fashion beyond commerce. Right? So I think because ultimately, yes, I'm in the business, but at the core of where I'm an artist.
Yes.
Right? So where was the essence of all this production and all these clothes that I was creating and churning out? What was the root? What was the foundation that would live beyond me selling this product in this moment? And I think that's when I took a time to pause, do something different, but still aligned within the same sphere, to really take my time to think about what it is that I want to contribute to society through the Zimbabwean narrative through fashion. And that's what I did. And I did a little bit of a mini pivot for like about 2 years.
I'll chime in there and there's a quotation that I got from your website, which is brilliant, by the way. Okay. By Thandi Gula. You said, our culture is inherently spiritual. We are inherently spiritual. We are living organisms of our traditions, existing as vessels and vehicles of its preservation and evolution. So your designs often reflect spiritual and cultural themes. So how are you incorporating these elements into your fashion collections?
Well, first I want to just give a shout out to Thandi Gula, because that's actually a local visual artist.
Oh, wow.
From Zim.
Beautiful.
And I love her work. I followed it and I saw that quote on her platform, and I said I resonated so strongly with it that I literally had to extract it. So just a shout out to Thandi Gula for that. But in terms of spirituality and how I incorporate it into the work that I do, so in the opening bio that you presented, I said I'm a visual storyteller. And that's ultimately the sort of essence that I want to spotlight through the stories that I tell visually through my campaigns. So, usually when people, I guess, promote a new collection that's coming out, they have these campaigns that they deliver these photo shoots or adverts, but I don't call mine campaigns. I call mine visual poems.
Oh, wow. I'm going to steal some of these terms. Visual poems.
Yeah, because it's like, yes, it's clothing that we're wearing ultimately at the end of the day, but this clothing is interacting with who we are as people inside our spirit, right? But it's a reflection on the outside. So I try to capture that essence through my visual campaign. I also consider myself a very spiritual person. I also consider myself curious, because I've always tried to understand who I am and the complexities of myself and the human experience. And I think I've used fashion as a medium to explore my own exploration of identity. And I think that essence inherently just starts to just come out in the work that I create, also because of who I am as a person. So it's kind of difficult to separate the two, because whatever authentic work flows from an artist, that spirit is what people connect with. And ultimately, when sometimes I create, I don't even think of a concept initially. Sometimes I just say, what is my spirit leaning towards? And based off of what my spirit is leaning towards is ultimately the work that sort of comes out at the end And then the work speaks to me and tells me ultimately what it wants to be. So it's kind of weird. It's like a dialogue happening with the creator and the artwork.
I get you.
You know?
I get you.
Yeah, it's very philosophical, it sounds, right? But that's the artistic aspect, and that's how I guess I satiate my artistic side. But then how I bring it back to the commerce is that when you separate the pieces, you see that they're very wearable, but in the way that I present them and the stories and the campaigns as people know them as, it's elevated.
Yes.
So I often have people saying to me, these clothes for people, can we wear them? Where do we wear these clothes? And then I'm often like, I need to do more how I wore my Dahomey pants or something, so that people see how the clothing beyond the campaign, how it translates into everyday wearable clothing. But I've noticed that the reason why my brand has gotten so far and has gone international is because people want a story.
Yes.
They want to know what is the intentionality behind these clothing, because we have so many clothes. To be honest, if we start making clothes today, apparently it's estimated that we could live for 10 plus years with enough clothes. So we actually don't need any more clothes. So if we are going to be creating new clothes, why? Why does it matter?
And it's beautiful that you say that, because that means that fashion presents a very good vehicle for us to tell our stories as Zimbabweans, as Africans, and a beautiful platform to tell it to the world. And I know that you're a marketing person, so I really want to zone in on that and talk about how you mentioned that early on in your career you sold a dream. You managed to sell your product better than you could actually operate. Tell us how you converted the likes to sales.
How did I convert the likes to sales? You know, I think people want to feel like a product is going to make them feel better or do better or show up better. And I think that's what I managed to sell initially, is that if you buy this product, although it's a made in Zim product by a Zimbabwean designer competing with an international market like Louis Vuitton, I was able to convince my own people at the time that if you get this product, you're going to look the best. When you show up in that room, everybody's head's going to turn and you're going to be the one. It's worth your investment. And it's also value for your money. So I think I managed to communicate that quite clearly with my campaigns and the way I marketed myself. And there was always at the end of each push was action point. Find us here. Contact us here. So that was the marketing methodology that I applied initially. Although I've changed now my strategy, because I think the target market that I am now trying to reach is slightly different and they need to be spoken to differently. So when you're going for mass market, you need to have that end of, this is where you're going to find me. Contact me on this number. But if you're going more into a luxury space, you don't talk about price points.
Come on.
You never talk about price points. You just talk about the value of how someone's going to feel. You know, why is this going to improve your life, even your mental well-being? But you never talk about the figure. It's like in a luxury space, it doesn't matter. They have the money. So what they're looking for is an amplification of how they'll feel internally, something that can't be purchased. Yet they're going to part with money to purchase it. So I think that understanding in terms of where I wanted to fit, then also I changed the language and I also changed the approach. So because I'm interested now in fitting into an African luxury space, I make everything a fantasy.
Come on.
Everything is a dream. Everything is come, let's escape. Even the language that I use, I say House of Stone for the conscious wanderers. It just sounds so ethereal, sounds so dreamy. It's like, hey, do it, and where are you going? You know, and some people will be like, who are you talking to? I know who I'm talking to. I'm talking to the luxury consumer who understands that language.
And to those that have ears.
Exactly. So you need to also understand the language that your consumer uses. Use that language. If I was a streetwear brand, I'm not going to be using conscious wanderer. I'll be like, guys, we're about to be in the streets. You know, I don't even know if that's how people talk.
I was about to say, that's how people.
But you use different language. You need to understand the language that your consumer uses and use that language.
That's good. So good. And then you mentioned that you had to put in some systems. A lot of us think that sometimes when you start a creative business, what? And you also got to travel to international platforms very early. You studied internationally, so you know what was needed in the region. So what systems did you put in place for House of Stone to make sure that you are operating, productively?
Well, one thing I noticed is first I had to identify my weaknesses.
Okay.
And then find how I was going to strengthen those weaknesses. Because one of my weaknesses was always giving discounts. So sustainably, it wasn't going to work in the long form. So I realized I'm the sort of designer that needs to partner with a boutique and sell via boutique. Because when someone walks into an official retail space, they don't ask for discounts, right?
Yeah.
But if they know you personally, there's now like, girl,
I don't even.
sister up at me being a softie. I'm like, all right, got $10 discount. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the long term, that's not sustainable. I could have probably worked on being a bit more stern and being like, no, my price is my price. But because I was very aware of my general nature, I said, no, I now need to find retail spaces or I need to find salespeople that will now be the face. So for people that can't afford to maybe hire a person to do their sales for them, I would say approach boutiques. You need to be proactive. You need to identify boutiques that align with your brand aesthetic that will have access to the target market that you want to sell to. And even before you produce a collection, you need to actually do research on the consumer market. How many people are actually out there that actually want your product? In this season, we're entering summer. What are the trends? If you're going to go that route, what are the trends and how am I going to interpret that trend in a unique way for my brand so that in summer, when it comes, those jumpsuits are out there with the open backs, we know they're going to move without fail.
Come on.
So you need to do your market research. I often feel creatives move a lot with feelings, and that's why you end up burnt out, like me. In the beginning, I was burnt out. I was moving with feelings. Feelings, no plan.
Our feelings don't. So how do you balance that? Because when I'm trying to translate what you're saying to my field is I'm feeling like this is the song for the season. And also there's a role that creatives have to play in leading the way. So how do you strike the balance in leading a new vision and at the same time trying to be relevant to the market?
I actually love that question because I also refer to myself as an intuitive designer. And I think when you're creative, you need to trust your gut. You need to trust your intuition. Yes, there is the research, the practical technicalities to ensure that ultimately at the end of the day, your things are a success. But as a creative, you have an antenna, a spiritual antenna, an intrinsic antenna that tells you this is right for now. And I think one of my most popular collections, which I actually feel put me on the map, called Ode to Askana, that one was all intuition. And that is the one that actually took me to the global world. It was all me leaning in and trusting that this feels right. The outcome of it, I'm not too sure what it looks like, but I feel like if I create this authentic work, not only will this satisfy my soul, but it's speaking to someone beyond commerce. So at that time, I was okay with producing work that would speak to the soul. But then, luckily for me, it also then translated to good sales. And I think there's something about authenticity that people can just tap into and they feel it. They don't even understand why they're tapping into it. Like at that time, with Ode to Askana, the whole premise of it was us embracing our battle scars. So even like the styling of it, the women had bandages on them. They were up in Lomboshawa, which is known as sacred land. There were 3 of them. And for me, 3, Trinity completion, I said, how powerful is that? And then there was a mirror, which was a reflection of a portal. So a portal is one of the themes that I have in my visual work that often shows up. For me, a portal is the capacity to step into new dimensions.
Yes.
So for me, everything is about where we're stepping to now, which season are we in. We are like going to the next level. So when I stepped into that authenticity, that ultimately translated to commerce. So luckily for me, I listened to my gut instinct at that time, and the antennas were high. They were going like you know, they are ticking. You can't ignore that as a creator, right? But if you don't have it at that time, what you can lean on are these strategies that I've given of do your research, do the practical things that you can in your capacity to ensure turnover.
Yes.
Yeah, because you won't always have that antenna flying up there. So sometimes you need to lean on just practical, things.
I love that. Turning authenticity to commerce.
Yeah.
You're dropping some nuggets there, my friend. Some nuggets.
You're bringing it out of me. You're bringing it out.
So if you want to just chime in the conversation, the number is 0772-168-045. Would love to hear what you think, and if you've got any questions for Danayi as well. Danayi, you talk about sustainability in your work, and that's a big conversation in fashion at the moment. How can we be sustainable? So how are you achieving this with your work, and why is this important?
Well, first I want to start by saying is that I feel like Africans invented sustainability, then we lost it along the way. Yeah. We started to consume too much international news or international things, trying to copy, but sustainability has always been at the root of who we are as a people. Even growing up, when you think about our grandmothers and the way they functioned, they recycled for days. They used everything. Nothing went to waste. Ultimately, that's sustainability. It's maximizing on the resources that you presently have available to you. And when you look at Zimbabweans in this climate that we're in right now, we are the kings and queens of being resourceful and maximizing on the things that we have. Yeah. So that's something that I try to implement in my business. And I'd often say that sustainability found me. I didn't find it. My circumstance forced me to be sustainable in order to sustain my business. And what I mean by that is that because my business was fully self-funded and independent, I'd have so much waste from the garments that I would create in my studio. That waste is money sitting on the floor. I said, okay, Danayi, you already purchased this fabric, $21 per meter. That's probably $5 something on the floor right now. Be creative, make something beautiful out of it. And I feel like that is the nature of Zimbabweans, is that even out of something that is ugly, we transform those things into something beautiful. And ultimately, that's what I do within my practice. I recycle, I upcycle, I deconstruct. Like, I just see how I can maximize on everything. And I'm very conscious also of the materials that I use. I use a lot of cotton, locally made produce, so I don't have to import it. It's made here, it's homegrown. It's contributing towards the GDP, employment. I just feel like you need to be very intentional about the decisions you make as a designer and the impact that they have on the economy.
So good.
Yeah.
So you've traveled a lot, and I know you just showcased in Portugal recently.
Yeah.
Congratulations. How did that go? And also, what is the creative economy landscape looking like for fashion in the region and, in the world as a whole?
I feel, Portugal was amazing. It's always been a dream to be like on those global stages and to showcase alongside brands that ultimately you probably never thought you would showcase alongside, but now you're doing it, and it's like, wow, the dream is now.
Yeah.
And when I say the dream is now, it's not the dream is now just for House of Stone. The dream is now for Africa.
Come on.
That's the beautiful thing about it, right? Is that we are actually the ones who are setting the trends. We're the ones who can complain about cultural appropriation and potentially sue someone into success.
I know, right?
But in terms of how it's looking, the fashion industry, there's growth. Apparently, it's considered to be, I think, estimating a $15 to $30 billion industry.
Wow.
And growing.
Wow.
And in terms of employment opportunities, our youth, guys, there should really be no youth out there without a job, without a salary at the rate at which it's growing, our industry. But I think the challenges that we are facing is that at present, we are the inspiration, we are the entertainment, but we don't have the infrastructure to then support all of it, to even support the demand. We need the infrastructure, we need the financial support in order for us to meet the global demand, not just the African demand, the global demand for our product. Because I feel a lot of the times African designers miss out on opportunities just because the infrastructure is not there. Someone will say, I want 200 units, and it's like, I don't even have enough machines. Yeah, I don't have enough machines. I don't have enough injection capital to produce, but the demand, the desire for it is there. So we need corporates, we need government to implement systems that capacitate the fashion industry to grow and be a proper competitor globally. Because we can do it. We can actually close China down.
We can.
We can close China down. all love to them. But we can actually do that.
Wow. So can you speak about your experiences? I noticed you've done a lot of work. You've done some commissions. You've done exhibitions. And how do these sort of activities impact the creative economy? And what lessons have you drawn for us to use locally?
I think in terms of the way I've navigated this creative industry is I've had to learn the hard way, and I've had to learn just simply by doing and simply by being curious and doing the research and putting myself out there and having conversations. I now call myself a textile artist, but I would say during COVID I fell into becoming a textile artist, and I applied for a program with the State of Fashion, was it in Arnhem, Netherlands? And that was me just shooting my shot. Guys, if there's any advice I can give anyone in this life is shoot your shot.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, that was my first international exhibition. And I want to say how much I got paid, because to me it was mind-blowing that someone can make this kind of money from an exhibition for their first showcase.
Wow.
I made 3.5k euros from that first exhibition. And what that showed me is that the value that the international world places on art and preserving our culture in comparison to us as Africans and how we don't value it. Now we're crying reparations, but how did the art get there to begin with? Like, why were we watching them looting and we didn't care?
We didn't see the value.
We didn't see the value and the beauty of our own artifacts. So I think we need to, as Africans, as Zimbabweans, we need to actually value our creative economy.
So true.
Because it seems like everyone else values our own arts and creations more than we do.
Yeah. And then we complain when, they start making money for it. They're patenting our things.
Yeah, that always
and you're like, hey.
Wait a minute. But that's what I love about the present day world we live in, is how a lot of us young Africans, not even young, but just Africans, are taking ownership of their narrative. They're taking ownership of their own things. I even remember in 2014 I went to Avondale Flea Market and I saw those bottle top bags that the artisans would make. I said, why can't this be high fashion?
Yes. Why not?
And I stood on a runway and I said, that is high fashion.
Yeah.
A bingo basket. Why can't it be high fashion?
Exactly.
Who gets to dictate what is luxury? Who gets to dictate what is high fashion? We need to start creating our own criterias.
That's true.
Based on ourselves, what we value, and not what the West is telling us is valuable. So as much as I've been on those international platforms, I want it here. I want it in Africa. I want us to be so proud of our own platforms that we're hyping our own platforms up more than we're hyping any New York Fashion Week up.
Exactly.
Because it's that legitimate. That is my desire. That is.
And then you see the Changanbeg on Balenciaga website, and you're like, hi, what's going on?
I actually quite enjoyed that whole trade drama between the US and China, where now they're exposing all the luxury brands and saying, all those luxury brands that you buy from Hermes, Louis Vuitton, come here to the factories. It's more than half the price that you're going to get it there. So
that's crazy.
I think I ranted. I went to a tangent there. But
we were about to get this now. But it's okay. This is a safe space. We understand your struggles and everything. Yeah. So I understand that you're also one of the delivery partners. You are the delivery partner for Creative DNA program, which is run by the British Council in partnership with the Swiss Embassy. Tell us about this project and how are you perceiving it to impact the fashion industry? Because you're talking a lot about the need for ecosystems to be supported, and this sounds like it's pouring into a possible ecosystem. So tell us about this project.
I love it. I feel like this program ultimately I'll define it as is teaching people to fish for themselves. And it's creating opportunities for people to access the education that is actually not available to them within the fashion system today in Zimbabwe. Nice. We don't have access to fashion business knowledge, right? We don't have access to training that will make you globally competitive, with all due respect to the institutions that are presently there. But we also have to address the reality that we are way behind when it comes to even competing even with our neighbor South Africa when it comes to the fashion industry. So what I love about this is that we also bring in UK experts, so we get that global insight of, okay, we are here today as Zimbabweans. That's where the UK is. We don't necessarily want to be them, but what can we take from them and interpret it in our own way and create something new and meaningful so that we can also have a globally competitive product coming out of Zimbabwe to the world. The competition is not each other. The competition is the globe. Nigerians aren't really competing with each other.
Exactly.
They are trying to export Nigeria to the world. My motivation is let us export Zimbabwe to the world with fashion, music, and all these various art forms that we have. So I think that's the exciting thing about the Creative DNA program is that, one, not only are we empowering our community to start creating viable fashion businesses, but you know what? As a person who's delivering it, I'm also learning from these creatives. Every day I'm just like, okay, I never thought about executing it that way. So I think it's a proper exchange.
Yeah.
And each year, the program is evolving and it's getting better. So I think that's the exciting thing about this program, and I actually implore people to actually engage with it because there's so much to benefit. There's market access, seed funding opportunities, mentorship with experts in the industry. There's just so much that you can gain for free from this platform.
I mean, I actually love the So Creative e-learning platform because I went through the course and the information there is done by Africans for us. And I would highly recommend every creative to do that because it gives you a basis of how to operate in the industry. Yes, you're coming into this field, but there's policies that you have to be aware of. You're coming into this field, but you need to know how to launch the business. The same things you were talking about, that you had the marketing experience, but still needed to know how to set yourself up as a business. So I thoroughly enjoyed that as well. So tell us about the future. Tell us about any upcoming fashion projects or collaborations that you're particularly excited about coming up.
I hope people have nothing they're doing this Saturday because we're having an exciting pop-up, a designer pop-up market that's taking place this weekend at Lotus Wellness Spa.
Nice.
From 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Come through, guys. Shop local. There'll be live music, great food, great music. It's just going to be a vibe. Come and meet your Zimbabwean designers. Come shop local. Come and wear Zimbabwe.
Okay, that is thank you. That's nice. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Because I hang out with you now. I need to zhuzh up my fashion game.
It up all the way up. Or we'll leave you at home.
I know. So now when you leave me, I know like it's about my outfit.
The unnecessary pressure.
Danayi, it's been an absolute pleasure. The key takeaways I'm taking from today is, look, how are you converting your likes to sales? And you told us about authenticity and turning it into commerce. And the dream is now for Africa. So just shoot your shot and let's make it happen. Do you have any parting shot for the people that are listening?
I don't really have a parting shot aside from, guys, live your best life. You only have one life. Go in there, take charge, take control. It's the Dominion season, ultimately. So that's my last word. Yeah.
So where do people find you on the socials?
You can find me on Haus of Stone on all platforms, spelled HAUS of Stone. My other platform is Haus of Stone _showroom, spelled in a similar way, HAUS of Stone.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Business Unusual with the Creative Economy Conversations. My name is Tarirone Gitare, and we're going to do this again next week, same time, and I'm going to play out with an amazing artist who is taking Zimbabwe on the map and just doing some amazing things, and his name is Silent Ngo. This one is called Hoya.